This scene with Victor and the boy in white is one of the most important in the entire show because understanding why he lied to Victor about Miranda's death is crucial for us to even start to comprehend the levels of manipulation and deception happening to the people living in this town.
Tree does bad things. Why won't you help us?
You need to learn for yourselves. It's the only way you'll understand. Everything's changing now.
Now, what we see happening in this moment with the boy in white is one of the most overlooked moments in this entire story. Because while people discuss what was happening here, no one ever talks about why Victor was angry at the boy in white in the first place, despite the fact that it's one of the most blatant examples of the one trait that the writers repeatedly choose to emphasize to us as the viewers as the defining trait of the being that we know as the boy in white. And this scene I'm about to show you next perfectly demonstrates what defines this character that we know very well as the boy.
They always take you different places, but my mother said this one was special, that it would take her to the tower, to the children. The boy in white was trying to tell Christopher that to save the children, he would have to go through the tree. I told my mother what the boy in white said. That's why she left us.
This scene is absolutely crucial in understanding what the boy's goal actually is in this story. Because what we really see here is one of the biggest breadcrumbs given to us by the writers outlining the boy in white's incredibly obvious pattern of deception. Like, think about this. He knew that Victor was the one responsible for his mother's death, but he chose to lie and keep that information to himself because he needed Victor to have a very particular and specific state of mind so that he could use Victor as a pawn to achieve his own personal goals in the town of Fromville. And this is just one of the many examples of this particular trait that is repeatedly demonstrated by the boy in white throughout the series. And this next scene that I want to show you directly adds onto exactly what I'm talking about.
You have to get inside. Over there. You'll be safe in there.
Did you go through the tree? Yeah. Sometimes you get stuck. Sometimes you get trapped. That's when they get you.
What happened to Boyd in this moment is a great example of the level of deception that we consistently see from the boy in white. He deliberately leads you into a situation that is extremely likely to result in your desperation so that he can then offer you what is seemingly the solution to the problem that he himself created. Like, think about this. The only reason Tabitha decides to go into the faraway tree that took her to the lighthouse is because the boy in white specifically sent Boyd to get infected with the worms in the first place, which directly led to Julie getting infected with the cicadas and going into a coma, which was the exact reason why Tabitha decided to go to the lighthouse in the first place. This is what the old man was referring to when he said that when you find yourself in a desperate situation, that is when the entity that captured him leads you into his traps, which is the same thing we see with the magical storm that just happens to appear right before Boyd and Sarah reach this particular faraway tree that ends up leading him into the dungeon so that he could get infected with the worms. Basically, what I'm saying is that the boy in white was manipulating events from the very beginning of the story to force Tabitha to go to Camden, Maine, see the paintings in the basement, and bring Victor's dad back to the town. In other words, the boy in white is doing everything he can to make sure that Tabitha will complete the quest. And this is actually one of the biggest signs that the boy in white and the entity in control of the monsters are really just one and the same. And this is why what I'm about to show you matters so much.
He said that you would come. Boy in white, he said that you would come, that I should wait.
What we see here in this moment is one of the biggest hints given to us by the writers of this story that the boy is the one that's in control of the monsters. Because I want you to ask yourself a very simple question. Why does the entity even allow the existence of these cave drawings in the first place? Because as we have been led to believe, the entity doesn't want the people of the town to supposedly save the children locked in the tower. Ooh, somebody please save the children. Ugh. But yet, the entity allows allows the existence of the Boro trees. And not only does he allow Tabitha and Victor's dad to survive the ambulance specifically so that they can tell the people of the town what they know, but he even goes above and beyond simply allowing them to gain information to literally implanting the melody from the Boro trees into Jade's brain. And when you really think about it, he took it even a step further than even that by literally implanting the information about the child sacrifices into Fatima's brain while she was giving birth to Smiley. But the one thing that makes it undeniable that he wants the people of the town to finish the quest is the fact that he allows Victor to live, specifically so that he could tell the people of the town about the quest, the children, the faraway trees, and he's even going to allow Victor to tell them about the man in yellow in season 4. And this tells us what we've always known from the very beginning about the boy in white and the entity in control of the monsters. Both of them want the people of the town to complete the quest, which makes sense because they've always been one and the same.
About the tree. There was this boy, all dressed in white, kept repeating, "Here they come. They come for 3.
It's laughing at you for setting it free, for bringing it back to town. Here they come. They come for 3.
Once you understand what's really going on with the boy in white, everything we've ever seen in the entire show makes perfect sense. Both the boy and the kimono demon are telepathic storywalkers that have the ability to turn invisible, therefore making themselves appear as ghosts when they're clearly not. There's many hints to how they're obviously the same being, as well as them also being what we know as the music box, like how all 3 of them specifically appeared in Elgin's dreams to manipulate him into assisting in Smiley's rebirth. But there's also much more subtle signs, like how Victor specifically says that he hasn't seen the boy in white in a long time, and the music box demon was laughing at Boyd for setting it free and bringing it back to the town. And this is on top of the fact that the boy in white literally says, "Here they come for 3 in Elgin's dreams, just like the music box demon says the exact same thing to Sarah at the ruins. And most importantly, we already know that the boy isn't actually a little boy, and he can manipulate his form as he chooses, which explains the being who appeared as Abby to Boyd when he was in the dungeon. And when you consider all of this, it's very interesting to me that the Yellow Man's goal is clearly the exact opposite of the boy. He wants to prevent the people of the town from finishing the quest. He specifically wants to prevent them from gaining knowledge and therefore progress, hence why he was afraid of Jim Matthews' level of influence on the townspeople. And this is the main reason I've actually started to think that the Yellow Man's mission is to prevent the entity in control of the monsters, who is also obviously the boy in white, from winning the game, and therefore that the man in yellow, as unbelievable as it may sound, is actually the good guy in this story. But what really got me about the trailer in season 4 is that if these dolls that were buried with the vegetables were the creatures that were knocking on the cabins and were constantly and repeatedly mentioned in season 3 as being completely different to the Nightwalkers, then I just have to say that they are a complete disappointment, because I fail to see how giant dolls that seemingly run around physically killing people just like the Nightwalkers could in any way be worth the insane amount of screen time and dialogue lines that were completely wasted hyping up these literally trash monsters in multiple different episodes of season 3 to the point that it genuinely enrages me. There's nothing that I'm seeing here from these dolls that justifies how the writers kept having the characters mentioning once knocking at the cabins over and over and over about them supposedly being so different to the Nightwalkers, just for them to end up being a bunch of trashy dolls that are clearly far less terrifying than the Nightwalkers. Like, let's be honest here, the idea of Christopher's puppet running around Colony House like Chucky, stabbing and killing people with a giant knife after deceiving one of the fools living in Colony House to just do this one simple thing and we'll get to go home, like what happened to Elgin and the Kimono Demon, would have been far more horrifying to me than these completely mediocre and relatively pathetic looking monsters. And I'll be honest, I don't have an issue with how they look necessarily, but the problem is they wasted so much time in multiple episodes hyping up whatever was knocking at the cabins, just for them to be the same type of thing we're used to seeing, except it's just worse because they're not human looking like the Nightwalkers. Like, seeing these giant dolls really makes me miss the music box, the cicadas, and the ballerina, because implanting worms into someone's body that eat at their body from the inside for decades and even centuries he's breaking people open in their dreams, bypassing the talisman, and then enslaving people to be tortured for eternity in the dungeon. Now that was a real monster. That is what an actual demon actually looks like. These new supposed scarecrows might as well be the equivalent of Barbie dolls in comparison to the absolute horror of the music box phenomena. But what really pissed me off the most about the trailer for Season 4 is Boyd's statement that he will make sure that the truth does not come out. And I almost flipped out and lost my mind when I heard this line, because it's crazy just how horrible of a leader Boyd really is. Like, you are living in a place full of demons that you know are doing everything they can to destroy you and the people living in this town. But Boyd still refuses to share the information that he has. It's crazy how dumb these people are. Like, Fatima literally tells Elgin that he is not the first person to see visions and signs in Fromville, and that it's supposedly a regular thing. So if the people in this town had even a shred of intelligence in their brain, they would have already made the connection that if someone wasn't having visions before they entered the town, and then the visions that a particular person is having just magically happen to be the exact same visions that someone else has already seen, you know, like the kimono demon or a body of water like the Brundles or whatever, then that automatically means that the visions are literally a direct symptom of being exposed to something that exists in the town, rather than the constantly used and incredibly mediocre excuse that being in Fromland makes people lose their mind, which is clearly just complete nonsense. These people should have kept a journal of all of the constantly occurring visions and themes that people experience in the things that they see. Like, if two people who've never met and have never interacted with each other prior to their arrival into the town, or even in the town, have a vision of the Brundles, that obviously means that something in Fromland is the cause of that vision. Hence why they should have a journal with all of that information written down. But the people here are consistently some of the dumbest people I've ever seen in any piece of media. They literally have no brain. Like, even in this trailer alone, this scene with the man in yellow shows us how the stupidity of the people in this town will be what dooms them to damnation. Like, it's crazy how obvious it is that what's happening here is just one of the many signs of how deep the manipulation actually goes, but no one in the town is going to be able to see it because they keep hiding information from each other. So go watch this video here where I explain how the entity has managed to delude the fools in this town that they could ever win, but they clearly never will, because he's rigged the entire game from top to bottom to make sure that he always wins.